Um, just some logistics. We're at 10:48. You started at 10:12. So that was 36 minutes. Obviously you haven't fleshed out the last part. I'm just taking a final note. I have tons of notes and tons to say. But I don't want to dominate. I'd rather have everyone speak, see what the consensus is. I will give a summary overview. I am concerned that this is not going to be tremendously helpful in moving the ball forward with Rockefeller. It is a wonderful presentation in its own sense. There are hundreds of people I'd like to sit in the room and listen to that. But in a general sense, I think there are ways it needs to be tweaked to be what Rockefeller needs to hear to give us the chance to continue the dialogue to hopefully get funded. I think there's a lot of detail that we can skip. And what's more important is what you said you're going to lead to the end. They need lots more of specifically, who are we? Specifically, what will we do together? What is the vision? We don't want to leave that to the last 2 minutes. We want to infuse 35 minutes with that so they are excited the entire time about working with us as an organization. Right now, they're getting a history lesson. And it's a great history lesson. But it's not, I don't believe, going to get them tingling and saying, we got to fund these people. These people are the answer to us putting boots on the ground with exactly what we want to do. They're learning stuff that they should already know. That's a very 30,000 foot level. And I don't want a cold, or a cold shower on it because it's a great presentation. I'm just not sure that this is going to do what you want. Speaking objectively.
Go ahead, Asha.
So that was a similar, I'm a little, of course I'm being a little neutral in many ways, but I felt the same thing, Jason, is what is it that we want? Does Ron know what we have to present to Rockefeller, or is it something, it's the, like we already did show and tell through the tours, that was a show and tell we did as we walked around all this. So when he came here, was the mission to be able to then, what you said, spend all the 30 minutes in how we can partner with Rockefeller. So just kind of, that was my just comment or question or, yeah. So I did feel, yeah, there was a lot of history behind, but nothing.
And I felt also similar in that what I was wanting to hear more about was, well, first of all, like the portion of effect, I thought it needed a better lead in to that. It needed a little bit more description of what effect was and who our partners are in that, and what we'd like to come out of that. But what I really wanted to hear more about and what are the things that we're doing, like training of the next gen physicians and the work that's happening with Saul in reaching out to these other communities, how ethos specifically is involved and contributes in those ways, as well as a little bit more information. I mean, I thought, doing the case study was a good idea, although I thought it definitely could be tightened. I think for these people, I think the information of how a whole food plant-based diet and lifestyle actually heals and reverses disease could have been reinforced more, because I think they don't understand. stand that, like most people don't really know from a scientific standpoint that that really does work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought the presentation was pretty riveting, but yes, the point about what's going to excite Roy Steiner and Noah Cohen Klein about us is still not obvious.
By the way, if I keep looking over my shoulder and looking distracted, I apologize. One of our cats is trying to escape the compound. And he did the other night. We were in the bathroom and Deb looked outside and there was Baxter by the grill. And so I'm keeping an eye on Junior. So I want to echo what Pragya said. It is a riveting presentation. It is the kind of presentation that would totally turn me on as a layperson to ethos. Where I think we need to pivot to is shorten up the amount of history and infuse it with more references. The whole idea of doing a visual tour is to implant places in people's minds that you come back to and tie together. It's really important to infuse the presentation with. Earlier today, when we were up at the effect field, we saw this used to be a GMO cornfield. We did core samples. In other words, you're reinforcing this space in your presentation. It's like a capstone project. What you're doing for this day is bringing back everything they saw, touched, and smelled, but then taking it forward and giving them the vision. Being blunt, what lacked most in this presentation for me was, why did I just spend a day walking down around this farm? What do they want from me? Okay, I get it. His dad had cancer. He into whole food, plant-based. He can cure people. All good. Why am I here as Rockefeller? Why is this going to be something that I'm going to go back behind closed doors and fight for a limited amount of money to give to this group of people? We did not at all make that connection, in my humble opinion. We gave snippets of things that they would then have to jump to, like that wonderful picture of the community outreach. Each one of them should be infused with this is what we've already done. This is what we'd like to do. Right?
Yeah.
That starts them salivating. That's like, holy shit. They've, like, by way of example, a statement like, we currently see X number of patients. In the past 12 months, we have helped X number, I don't know whether it's 30, 40, 10, 12, whatever the number is. Through our medical programs at the medical practice, we've helped this many people combat chronic diseases that they thought they could never cure. They have been cured from those. Okay. If we scale our operations the way we hope to do, we can double that, triple that in the next year. And more importantly, through our Next Generations Physicians program, we can have a logarithmic curve type of explosion of people doing this kind of medicine. So imagine if we weren't just curing the 30 that we cured in the last 12 months, but 300, 600, 10,000. That's what we need to do together. That's the work that's before us, right? That's the kind of, you're not saying, give me money, but that's what we want to do, right? You're giving that future that is exciting. And we have so many of those. We don't have to do all of them. We just have to pick 3 or 4 that are really exciting. And Ron, you as the visionary, lay out what was and what can be. And again, partners, like Nora said, we have to mention partners. When we talk about the work in Newark, We have to talk about the fact that we can leverage what we do through these partnerships, like Rodale, like the folks in Newark, like hopefully Rockefeller. I might even say that if it were me giving the presentation, I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I might say through partnership, we have a multiplication factor that is so big if we partner together, right? You know, so stuff like that. Does that make sense?
It does.
So yeah, I mean, you know, the must stays, by the way, the dad.
Yeah.
Picture of you and your dad.
Yeah, but that has to be condensed.
Well, yeah, the way I do that is the whole medical, well, here, if you want to get down to brass tacks, let me get to my notes. I'm just talking extemporaneously right now. So the history, you started at 1012 and you got to the word disillusioned at 1017, right? That whole section, one of the first questions that you're asked, the most important question you're asked when you apply to medical school is, why do you want to be a doctor? And probably the most common answer is to heal people. That's what I answered. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. And yet I found myself at the end of my second year in a lecture hall being lectured on the fact that I would never heal people. I would manage chronic disease through drugs, maybe every once in a while be able to take someone's bad appendix out or what have you. But by and large, my job was not healer. It was chronic disease manager. And that blew my mind and it completely disillusioned me. That was about 35 seconds. And it gives exactly the same impact, maybe more so, as everything you said that took 5 minutes, right? That's because the key things that you had in there brilliantly, the word disillusioned, chronic management of disease with drugs, those are the things that stay. The other stuff, you bank that time to the places that's going to get Rockefeller really excited. Now, it's hard because stylistically, Ron, one of the things I've learned, you have a very methodical way of speaking. Look, it's riveting. It's one of the reasons that I love Ethos is because I love you. But in this kind of engagement, as much as you can without, you're not going to change your stripes, right? You're a tiger. But you have to pivot away from adding detail. Dandelions on the Mayflower, so cool. I love it. Absolutely doesn't matter to getting money from Rockefeller unless you do it as something that just is a little, it's like almost a little drop, right?
Mhm.
These dandelions, they may have been here from the Mayflower times. They may have even been brought over from the Mayflower. That's the earth healing itself with that massive taproot that a dandelion throws down. Again, you can make that statement powerfully, very quickly. Then you get to your dad, right? So you do that opening and then you picture your dad. This is my father. I learned more through the process of helping him after his diagnosis of cancer about healing people than frankly I did in medical school. And then you just, you go into the whole food plant-based from there. And, that's a must keep. The 1-year appointment where the doctor thought he was seeing a ghost, must keep. But those are, we don't need as much around it. So in other words, the whole history from start to when you get to the father story, try for 2 minutes instead of the 5. And the father story took from 1017, you got to the physician losing interest at 1020. So that was pretty succinct. And I think that point that you made is so powerful about when he started talking about food, the doctor got totally disillusioned. Hippocrates, food is medicine. That took 4 minutes. doesn't need, I'm not even sure you need to mention it. That's a judgment call that you have to make. It's, you know, if it is, it's a passing thing that, you know, it's funny. We very rarely realize we take the Hippocratic Oath. Hippocrates himself was the first person that said, and then I would use the exact quote. And I think you've said it before. It's slightly different than what you said today, which is food is medicine, but it's something like, let thy food be thy medicine, and whatever it is. I might say it and say, you know, and yet that is simply not taught in medical school. So what are we doing to change that? Okay. That's where I think you need to, you know, you bank that time so that you can talk about the next gen physician program right there instead of waiting all the way to the end. You want to talk about the number of doctors that we are training, that they happen to have gone to great schools like NYU and St. Luke's Roosevelt or Einstein, whichever. You know, that's the power, right? You
Mhm.
saw a problem, you came up with a solution, and then we're training 2 new physicians a year, however many we are. Imagine the power of us being able to train 20. Imagine the power of us being able to take this into the inner city and to train people there that can't come here. Again, you're not saying give me money, but you're planting the dandelion seeds that when the time is right, they will think about, oh my God, we have this program and this amount of money and they could do this grant. That's what we want to do here. And then the MS case report, that took almost 5 minutes. It needs to take 1 or less. It's powerful, but it's just not worth spending that much time on. You know, in other words, you can make the same statement. You put up the picture of the guy, the before and the after. Here's a guy, diagnosed, patient of ours, friend of ours, diagnosed with MS, cured by the kind of medicine we practice at Ethos. Okay. He's doing a tough mutter here. These drugs, you name the drugs, tremendous side effects, and only contain the disease, didn't put it into remission. Changing over to whole food plant-based under the care of the team at Ethos Farm, at Ethos Primary Care, he's in complete remission. This has happened again and again and again. Here's the case study that we did, you know, that we put up the peak. So like that. Now, that's why we need to bring this kind of lifestyle medicine to thousands of people, not the hundreds that we currently manage. Again, you're not saying specifically what you're going to do yet because we can't. We don't want to perjure ourselves in bullshit, but you're laying that vision that this is what we can do. Community. I love the community picture. Can you put that back up on the screen, Asha? Is there a way to do that? The first community screen? Because I think this was one of the most powerful visuals we
I
had.
can share again the.
Yeah, just that one slide.
Okay.
After your father and you, I think this was one of the
I
greatest.
mean, we can organize it right now if you want.
Nope. I don't want to organize it. I just want to go back and look at that slide
Okay.
together and make some points about it. The one before that. Okay. The point, the power of this slide, I can't overstate. You have people from the inner city. You have our farm stand. You have people outside with fresh produce. You have hundreds of people at farm days, and you have kind of a potluck type event. Visually, this screams community. What I think you may want to do is spend a little more time like describing who the partners were,
Mhm.
how it could be expanded in each one of them, especially the farm days where you're bringing this knowledge. In other words, what I didn't hear was, this was our farm days in 2019. We're doing another one this year. We had one last year. With that program alone, we touched thousands of lives, right? That's huge. You know, and the fact that you have some of the most renowned global speakers on these topics to this little farm. It's 300 acres, but it's a little farm in New Jersey and it has a global impact. That's amazing.
And
And-
Sarah Farley's one of the presenters this year. Who,
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. And so talking about these programs and imagine what we could do together to do more of this, right? I almost want to create a tagline for the end of each section that just plants a seed. And I love that the overall theme, food is medicine for the patient, for the land, for the community, and for the planet. That's perfect. The question is, what is our call to action? I'm not sure yet, but I love this slide. And I love the next slide. Asha, can you jump to the next slide? You know, the fact that Saul is running with Cory Booker and that, you know, as you know, Rockefeller people, Cory Booker is working hard to try to change the contents of the Farm Bill to try to move that bill toward a more sustainable agriculture. You know, and we're working to try to get him to come to the Farm Days event. You know, that kind of panache adds real gravitas to what you're saying. I loved the Chow video. That was dead. Yeah, dead. You know, that was fantastic. The whole thing about effect, what you didn't do in it is paint the picture that we wanted. Again, it leaves effect out there. Based on the way the presentation flowed, I cannot understand how effect relates to anything other than core samples. It's not intuitive to me what we're wanting to do with that field. And I really am very fearful. Wow, that's really cool. Let's fund effect, right? We don't want them to set the agenda for how we fund effect, right? I think that's a place that we have to paint the future. We have to say, we took these core samples, okay, of the before. We need to continue to do core samples to see what's happening in that soil as we regenerate it. We know good stuff is happening from other papers, from other researchers that have done this stuff across the globe. But what's happening here? And when is that soil ready for us to turn that field into productive agriculture, to turn that field into regenerative agriculture? And then how do we maintain that level of carbon capture and farm in a way that maintains the health of that soil, and then also maintains the health of the community by bringing farmers both out from food deserts to learn farming here, to have them in residence here, to train the young farmers that we talked about earlier. Again, we didn't reference, I don't think, I could have been distracted by Baxter, but I don't think I heard you mention the next gen farmers other than in passing, but one time. And we certainly didn't talk about how many we have trained and how we want to do that as a way of building community. And I think that's vital. And by the way, I don't think you have to tell the story about using Roundup or the biocide one last time.
Yeah.
It just, it distracts it distracted me and got me more focused on how angry I am that that is what has to happen because of conventional agriculture. I didn't think it moved the narrative forward as much as sideways. Yeah, so we got to food as medicine for the planet at 1044, right? I think that's the capstone. That's where, if you heal the patient, if you heal the land, if you build the communities, you will heal the planet, right? It's kind of that narrative. The other three are the building blocks. And I think the closure, the ribbon on top is, when we first heard that you were interested in coming here and we researched what you were involved in this space. The amazing thing is the synergy between what we do on a very small scale right now, every day, in that space that you're interested in, that you already work in, or in those spaces. And hopefully, through the creativity in this room and through the shared mission, we can figure out how to partner together over the coming years and decades so that we can help you achieve your mission and act as somewhat of a laboratory and boots on the ground to get some of the amazing things you're working on infused into the work that we do. Something like that.
Okay, that last minute,
Yeah.
I need bottled.
I
Well,
wanted to.
That
one-
last minute, that's the close.
Yeah.
I don't know how, Pragya, can you just,
Can
you-
I
is
share?
it possible to extract that from this recording and send it to me?
Yes.
One thing that I wanted to add, Jason, to whatever you said, yes, Ron is absolutely right, but I think you remember, even though they are helping, I don't know whether it's, I'm just putting it out there and whether I'm wording it right, but even though they are, like, we're pointing out that Rockefeller is doing this, but there's no one connecting all the pieces that
Thank
I don't
you.
know how. It is
You're
so important for us to stress that here, we are the only one that is connecting it all together.
You're absolutely right. I completely spaced on that. And that is
So hold it a
that is
second.
really important.
Can you, I'm going to turn on my, no pressure. I'm going to turn on my tape recorder. Can you take what Asha has done and can you infuse it
Yeah.
into that last statement? Hold on.
Tell me one.
Shoot.
So I think in closing, if I had to summarize for you what I'd want you to take away from the day you've had, from the things we've shared together, the things we've seen, and the programs that are currently in place at Ethos, is the incredible connectedness of all of it. And that's one of the things that we do, at least to my knowledge, fairly uniquely. There are entities that do whole food plant-based medicine. There are entities that operate regenerative farms. There are entities that do soil trials. And there are entities that train doctors and train farmers. But when you put all of that together in one group of people, the synergies that start to happen and the knowledge base that gets created is incredibly powerful. And we would love to work with you to partner over the coming years and decades to bring that interconnectedness to other places in the United States, eventually across the globe, because it's having the doctors know what happens in the farm field as they're prescribing these foods to patients. It's having the farmers know what chronic diseases these foods cure, and having everyone know that as members of the global community, if we heal the patient, if we heal the land. If we heal the community, we heal the planet together. That's it. Admittedly, a little rough because I'm on the spot, but that's, you get the theme.
Yeah.
Asha, thank you for reminding us of what is maybe the most important thing that we bring to the table. I'm sitting here cutting down trees, or looking at the forest rather, and I should be looking at the trees.
No, I think this was a piece that I think initially had come to my mind, but I was not able to, because I started thinking, why is not Ron coming up? Like I was waiting for the next moment and the next moment and the next moment, that we've been talking.
Well, and
that's
also,
why.
let us all remember, it is so much easier to do what we're doing than what Ron just had to do.
Exactly.
It's much easier to play Monday morning quarterback than it is to start
So-
with white
Yeah.
piece of paper.
Well,
Yeah.
let me say this. Oh my God, there is so much going on. There is so much material to deal with. There is so much to think about that I view what I just presented to you as just a really rough initial stab. And everything that you have said is 110% true.
Well,
I feel it, I know it, and I need to rework this as you have recommended.
and that's why we're a team. And that's why all those days ago, Ron, when you and I were talking, I said, I'd really like to be in the room while you're working on this and be at the event, because, you guys are an amazing group of people, and every one of you sees things differently. And it's the power of everything together that makes it boom. So thank you for taking the constructive criticism in the spirit in which it came. Because it's very hard to sit there and say that stuff to someone you love and care about. You spent hours putting something together that you then have to say, okay, we got to redo it. But we will have an incredible day on Friday. I have no doubt. And probably the question is, do you want to go through another run through with
I
all?
do.
Okay.
I do. I have to. And we cannot send this to Walter Willett.
Oh, no, not in
cannot.
current form.
We cannot.
No. And the other thing is, we can't really send him the PowerPoint. I think what you send Walter instead, I assume you'll have talking points that you have. I think what he's more interested in is, what are the bullet summary 30,000 foot when do you want to rework this, and when do you want to do this again?
I'm going to spend today.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, Jason? I mean, I think you did a great, you really put it together. If we want, we can do like a Weiss memo to Walter Willett about, the whole, flow, if you want to do it rather, or, whatever. And we just send it to him, because he looks like he wants to be present during Ron's presentation. So already we'll send him a Weiss memo explaining him, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Can you
At
send,
1 p.m. he's gonna
while I'm
join.
working on this, Jason, could you put together a few minutes voice memo?
Well, what I was going to suggest is a different approach was,
Okay.
if we get together in the let's pick the time that we get to see the revised presentation. While that revised presentation is happening, I will take a different kind of note than I did this time.
Okay, and then send him.
I'll take the bullet points of the presentation in a Word document that I'll then disseminate this group for any tweaks, things that I missed, and then we send that to him. And no, he won't get it probably before, realistically, maybe Wednesday, but it'll be a real document based on what the real presentation is going to be.
Okay.
as opposed to just a, you know, a brain dump right now.
Okay. The tour is on Thursday. I just want to make sure to correct you. It's not
You
a
said Thursday?
Friday. Yes, I want to make sure it's a Thursday.
Shit, did I have the wrong day? Yeah, I thought it was Friday. That's great. I knew it was Thursday and my Thursday is wide open, but I thought it was, yeah, excellent.
I know, we wish we had one more.
Yeah,
day.
it is June 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, June 1st. Ron, do you want to prepare on it today? And then how does tomorrow, I know it's too rushy, but how is tomorrow evening for us to hear the round second for Ron? How does it look for everybody? Because we could do it. I'll see Practice Fusion and see if we can block during the day so that we don't meet in the night evening times.
I could do it.
Okay, let me 1 second check. I can definitely block his lunch, which is 1 p.m. So if you guys just want to quickly check how your Tuesdays 1 p.m. are.
Guys, I honestly don't think I can do another meeting. This week is very,
Nora, I don't
intense.
think, having sat through this and having the comments and stuff like that, honestly, I
Can it just be you and Ron?
was gonna say.
Because I'm very, very nervous. I'm so behind. I'm
Yeah,
behind.
I was gonna
days.
say, I think there are more important things for you guys to do.
Thank you.
Thank
I've got this. Ron's got this. So yeah, let's just, Ron, coordinate a time. If you want to do that time tomorrow, I can do that.
Yeah, let's see. I'll give you and Pragya. So we could, yes, 1 p.m. There is nothing, you know, like as I said, is always available for Ron, 1 p.m.
That's tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yeah, was that better?
Wow.
Okay, I'll set that up.
1 p.m. tomorrow, Asha?
Yeah, at lunchtime run, your lunch, nothing is there.
Okay.
And your patient load
And Prague, I'm sorry, my patient load is what?
is less tomorrow. And sometimes I feel if we do it at 1, that way we'll have less delays, you know, from you, you know, it'll be a little bit easier. So.
Pragya, can you just still send me that little snip, that 1 minute extraction of the first version of Jason summarizing?
Yeah, I could send the whole video and tell you which
No,
minute
ju-
marker it's at.
Whatever is, what's
Okay.
easiest for you?
Ron, you need to be facile by tomorrow night then with how to share your screen and your presentation with me on Zoom, because I can't teach you that.
Well,
you
we'll do
tomorrow,
it. He
1
will be
p.m.
with, he may be with the scribes and that's why it's lunchtime. I should be able to help him and he's at the medical office, so it won't be as hard, Ron.
Or you could send it to me and I could share my screen, but
No,
Yeah, oh
if you
yeah,
did-
let me do that. Yeah, Pragya, why don't I do that? You be the, yeah, I'll do that. I'll send.
Well, I
Ron.
mean, I prefer to operate it myself. because
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna have
that's
to
what I was
upload it.
thinking.
You
What-
just have to, are you gonna be
someone-
there tomorrow
just-
in the
just-
office?
I will set you up in my,
Just show
upstairs
me
in my room.
where to click it, that's it.
Ron, what I can do is I'll set you up upstairs in my room. I'll go somewhere and figure out a place to work and then you can just work off there. And even better, if I have something more I will even try to set you up at the big house. That was some of the things so that you actually have that training. So I may even do that. So I'll keep you posted where I'm gonna set you up, okay? I'll know more by tomorrow morning. So Jason, yes, you'll get, it'll be a screen shared, you know, set up.
And in our long-term health of the organization, we're all going to work hard as a team so that we have less impacts on all of our personal lives in running an organization. Because what I will tell you is, I love you. But if I'm still doing this on Memorial Day next year, I won't be part of the team. And I mean
Yeah.
I mean that seriously. It's
Yeah,
important.
I agree with you.
It's important.
Completely.
We need to walk the walk. We're teaching patients
Exactly.
how to be
No,
healthy. This is not healthy. It's important, but it's not healthy.
Totally agree.
Sorry, doctor, I'm being doctor.
No, we'll cross our fingers.
Great.
If Ron is going part-time, my gut feeling is saying we'll really have much
Well,
more.
and then we need to build the economic engine that is the physician practice that makes Ron going part-time
Exactly.
sustainable
So-
economically.
Right, so there are two questions that we have not gotten to discuss, just very briefly, which I have a feeling Rockefeller is going to ask us about. Question number one is, they will be confused, as most bystanders are, about the relationship between the seeing of patients and the medical practice as a for-profit and Ethos Farm Project nonprofit activities. I was thinking about this, they could ask any one of us as we're walking along what the relationship is. So we have to be prepared to tell them. But I was also thinking that, that we can turn this around to a positive response, in that we are developing the practice as a potential great economic engine that can build better lives for physicians and the people they serve. In any event, I do believe that's something that we should be prepared to answer. And the second thing, of course, is they may start to ask us, based on, I guess, my presentation, what is most critical to fund? What is our most specific critical funding need?
Yeah. I think the former is a lot easier to answer than the latter. Because I still yet, all of you have never said to me in unison, the most important thing we need to fund is blah, right? So, and that uncertainty comes across. That's one of the things I was alluding to and getting together for that meeting, absent a clear mission, it's impossible for a boat to find port if it doesn't know which port it's going to go to, right? So we need to define that. Do you have any sense of that? Because I'm too new to say this is what we should fund. But the earlier one, I will come back to. That's easy. But if they said, what do you want us to fund? I don't think they will say that. But if they said that, what would you want to say?
For me, I would personally, I think there are three areas that are of primary importance that need to be funded, that we need funds for. I think staffing, most critically, a full-time position for executive director. Number two is housing for farmers, so that farmers can be on the land. And number three is a place to be where we can have our activities on the farm. And I think that is that stone barn, to tell you the truth.
Do we have any
Then-
sense, though, how well those line up with anything that Rockefeller regularly funds? Like by way of example, if Ron, on our first date, I asked you to go out to a Brazilian steakhouse, it might not go over too well.
Mhm.
So I don't have enough knowledge about Rockefeller and haven't done a deep dive to know. I know staffing is our most critical issue, but I don't know that they will fund staffing outside of a program.
But
You
we
know-
need staffing to run any program. You know, we can't, I mean, so program staffing is critically important too.
I understand. But like I said, has anyone done the research to know whether Rockefeller, we may need that, but does Rockefeller do that? Rockefeller may simply not fund staff. There are a lot of entities that won't do it.
Yep.
You know, staff is up to the board and your fundraising engine. I would argue, you know, again, this is staff. We need to raise enough money to hire a full-time development person. No disrespect, Pragya, but I would say a full-time development person would supersede a full-time ED because there's nothing more to manage if we don't have more money coming in to do more stuff. We're stymied by cash flow. We can't be strategic. We can't, you know, we can't roll out programs because we don't have staff, and staff costs money, and the kind of staff that we need most of the time, the organization has to raise money for itself. And then, you know, people like Rockefeller want to layer on, you know, things on top of that. But I don't know specifically about Rockefeller. I know when I asked Saul, I said, you know, can we just ask them to help fund some key staff positions? Like, no way. He's like, you don't want to ask that. He had almost a visceral reaction.
Can
So-
I just, sorry, were you saying something else, Jason?
No, that's it. I just, you know,
My thought process was, you know, if Rockefeller wants to do, you know, fund programs, if that's the route they choose, then definitely, you know, what does it take to strengthen, you know, if we identify programs and I'm just kind of randomly saying, for example, you know, growing food for the community, right? That suppose if that's labeled as a program, so then what kind of staff would you need? And then doesn't all that fall under that program? Or a program to food as medicine for the community or for the patient, suppose, you know, if we are going in the same line as Ron's presentation, then if that is a program, then you need staff to fund that. So can we go through that route?
I assume so, but I don't know.
Okay,
You know, I don't know. And for me to give advice on something I don't know is dangerous, right?
okay,
To me, they clearly will fund staff within the confines of a program that they want to fund. But like, in other words, I don't think I assume things like executive director, fundraiser, you know, development person, I assume those are on us. Usually, in my experience, what I've seen is the top level of the organization, those people are usually funded by the organization. And then within the specific program, the extra staff that you need to run the next gen physicians program, that they will be interested in funding. And they may even fund a portion of Dr. Weiss's salary as part of that program. But
exactly. That's what I'm trying. That's what I meant. Like when I was saying food as medicine for patients, food as medicine for community, and food as medicine for the planet. If we kind of stick to the same format that his presentation is, those are our program, and under those umbrella of those programs, you know, the next gen farmers fall under, or you know, the next gen physicians fall under, because all of those have educational pieces.
yes, but remember, to get something like that funded requires a very detailed document with a proposal.
Exactly. Yes.
That, at least to my knowledge, I don't know each of your individual skill sets. I know I don't know how to do. You know, I've funded into the for-profit area a lot, but in the NGO area, I don't know how to do this. But
Having discussed this with, when Pankaj was saying, when they used to do these kind of, grant writings, when they were doing at their work. So yeah, he would always say 60% of all our grant was for the salary. Every time we had a program that we had to do, we had to count that.
Yep.
So yes, we would probably, would have to brainstorm. You're right. We would have to brainstorm about those items for sure.
Well,
I know.
I think what we do since Thursday is 3 days away, I think the first question that Ron asked is easily answered by basically saying what we've already said in our board meetings and what have you in our phone calls. The relationship between the two is the practice, medical practice, the actual treating of patients, and the people that directly treat patients that are medical. Those are part of Dr. Weiss's medical practice. And that has to be because of medical legal stuff. That is a for-profit medical practice, right? It also, as it grows, has the potential to be one of the biggest funding sources for Ethos Farm Project. But the people on the team that are trained for next-gen physicians and what have you, that training is done by Ethos Farm Project. Right, so that's been packaged within what Ethos Farm Project does. And that's part of its mission. The actual caring of patients, caring for patients, that's the medical practice. Right, and then the other thing would, I mean, if someone nails us down and says, what specifically would you like us to fund? The way I would personally answer that is to say, I think the best way to approach answering that question is to get 1 or 2 people from your team, and 1 or 2 people from our team in a room to talk about where the commonalities are. And for us to better understand the kinds of things you like funding. We don't assume that you're going to change your funding methodology just based on what our needs are. So we have to get to know you better as an organization, understand what kinds of things you fund, then based on what you learned today, talk about what we're good at, where are those overlays, and where are the commonalities, where there's a shared purpose that you're interested in writing checks for. That's kind of the way I would answer that, which is a bit of a punt, but it's truthful.
It's like a politician's answer, but
Yeah, but it's
it really
truthful,
has to
right?
be. We don't want to give them that concrete answer.
No, because we don't know it. And what we don't want to do is go to the whole food plant-based person and invite them out to the steakhouse, right? We want to make sure we know they're whole food plant-based before we ask them out to dinner. And I have a lot of probing questions that I'd want to ask them about the kinds of things they fund, so just simple. And this could happen potentially over lunch. At the end of the day, we're going to learn a lot more because on those walks, I'm going to be asking questions of them just as much as they probably will ask questions of us, right? The kinds of questions we should be asking are, so, what excited you about coming here today? I'm just interested. You got a lot of horsepower here. It's fantastic. What was so exciting about Ethos to you? Their answer is going to tell you 1,000 things, right? What they say and they don't say. And then, we're in a lot of the same spaces. Where is your organization's key focus over the next 1, 2, 5 years, right? We're not going to turn the ocean liner around, but by knowing where they're already headed and then packaging ourselves within that, we're going to have a higher probability of being funded. So, other than being the kind of person shepherding people around, summarizing things, very important part of what I plan on doing is asking them questions and learning. And I think that should go for all of us.
Yeah. I just wanted, this is on a side note, Ron and I had a quick conversation and we've decided that we will not be giving any handouts or anything to Rockefeller from our, the EPC tour. So I just wanted to keep you guys all updated on that.
That's great. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Ron, you and I have a noon with Drew. That's virtually all
noon
today.
today. Oh,
So
is
can
that
we
true?
let you guys go
Yeah,
so
but
that you
yeah,
guys have some time to yourselves?
yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that we need you guys to do is just set up that Zoom for us for tomorrow.
That Pragya will be doing that, right?
I don't
Pragya?
know, Pragya, I don't know why. I've re-added you into my address book again, because sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes I get your emails and sometimes they end up in my junk folder. And like the 2 meeting invites today were in there. And I'm like, I can't find it anywhere. And I said, well, let me check the junk. And that's where they were. So I will, I'll just check there all the time.
Okay. All right. You guys have a great day. Thank
Okay.
you so much
And,
to all
and
of you
Pragya,
guys.
you've sent the noon meeting link. You've sent it. It's in my Outlook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason, will you update the run of show times at some point today? Or
I will not do it today. I will do it tomorrow. I am doing too much stuff I don't want to do today. And,
yeah.
but I will do that tomorrow morning. Yes.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
I will start the Zoom meeting and then disappear or something because I don't know if there's trouble.
Oh, you mean at noon?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Ron, I guess we'll stay on this for a couple minutes just to get our thoughts together on that and then we'll
Yes.
revisit. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.